Yeah.
Hello. So today I am joined with a lovely, lovely student from the Czech Republic. This is Daniel. Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everyone.
How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. And how are you, Sarah?
I am okay, thank you. As you can see, summertime in England, not quite as
Yeah.
hot as summertime in the Czech Republic.
Well, mind you, there's like 19 or so at this point. Well,
Hmm.
it is only me that is wearing a t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah, no need for t-shirts over here. So Daniel is very kindly going to share some ideas about extensive listening. So extensive listening is really a fantastic way for learners at any level to grow and expand their language understanding and range. It's something that I often use myself when when I'm studying, but I really think it's great to get tips from other language learners who have been through the process and can kind of explain it from the inside rather than a teacher kind of telling you what to do. So, Daniel, what's if I asked you for a definition of extensive listening, what would you say?
Well, extensive listening in fact is just, listening extensively, obviously. The thing is that you just get to the bed after your work or school or whatever, hop into the bed, plug in your headphones or whatever, and start listening to English or any language, any foreign language to you. You don't really do anything else. You just listen, and that's it.
And do you think it's important to, in terms of like level, I mean, obviously you're kind of a C2 level English speaker. With your extensive listening, do you place it at C2 or above or a little bit below, or how do you work with levels?
Well, I don't think I should be an example in that, or sort of. I don't think I should be really giving any like guides for people. The thing is with my approach is that I started really, really early. I mean, it was like my third year of English in school. I was like maybe 10 years old or so. So really, a really newcomer to English. I mean, I was like A2 level or so. So I pretty much started listening to English videos, English podcasts, English things. The thing is though that YouTube didn't have any subtitle options back then. So I really had to just listen without any support, without anything. Well, obviously in the beginning it was a struggle, like literally a struggle. I understood like maybe half of the words I heard, but over time it really paid off. Like seriously, it really paid off a lot, and I was able to pick a lot of vocabulary, a lot of grammar, a lot of pronunciation and fluency. Actually, I even believe that you can learn a lot of pronunciation through extensive listening.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
think
sort
so
of my
too.
approach and my sort of history with this kind of learning. So
It's quite
sorry.
brave.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking because, like, the standard advice and the advice that I normally give people for extensive listening is that it needs to be really easy to understand. So, extensive listening, the kind of general usual advice is don't make it too difficult because you want to be able to listen and understand most of what you hear so that
Mhm.
so that you understand it. If you're listening to a lot of language and you don't understand it,
Gets a bit boring.
it
Yeah,
gets a bit
I
boring.
get your point. Though some people may admit that the best sort of learning method of language or so is when you go to the country and just experience it a bit. And in my opinion, this kind of extensive listening is basically the closest and like cheapest experience you can get to this kind of like moving to a different country and living there. So in my opinion, just extensively listening for, let's say, I don't know, I have a rule of an hour a day,
Wow.
but some people may have just 30 minutes or even 5 minutes
Yeah.
if you don't have the time.
Yeah.
So this could also work because this would just bring you even a notch closer to the real like inside country experience. I
Mm.
can like that.
So what you're saying, I guess, is that you are trying to replicate or simulate the experience of living abroad and being thrown in at the deep end and
Exactly.
not really quite understanding everything, but you have to do it anyway.
Exactly.
S-
Obviously, this is the hard way, and I would really, really recommend that. Of to combine it with like intensive listening and stuff like that. This, in my opinion, is like the most powerful listening method ever.
mm,
If you, for example, combine like one day you will just have a 40-minute block and you will have 10 minutes of intensive listening with all the preparation and post preparation included, and then just 30 minutes of extensive listening. This is, in my opinion, the way.
mm. And did you or do you favor extensive listening over extensive reading?
Well, like honestly, I don't think I have really tried that much with like extensive reading.
Okay.
The thing is that it is a really good idea to try reading intensively and extensively at the same time. And I used it later down the line when I was learning programming because I have learned to program basically entirely in English. And well, that is it. That is also quite an important factor to just pick an interest and basically move it to English. And that was also my case there. And this is also a thing I believe I did somewhat correct, even though maybe not the most correctly at all,
Mm,
but at least a bit.
mm.
But definitely, yep, those two things do have something in common.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, the fundamental idea, it is like you say, it is surrounding yourself with as much language as you can so that your brain has got the chance to pick up on the language and kind of make those connections between the words and the
Mhm.
phrases. When you started and you were only understanding 50%, how did you close that gap between 50% and where you are today?
Well, you have to take in account that generally spoken, and scientists have proven that this is not something I made up, is that children tend to learn languages a lot easier than adults. So for me, it was just a matter of time to just overhear some patterns over time, maybe twice, 3 times, 10 times, and so on, and associate them with what they are, with the items. So this is basically a children's method of learning their first language, and I have applied it to a second language. And honestly, I believe this could even work for adults
Mm,
to some extent.
mm,
Just to hear some noises, you don't even have to sort of know what do they mean, but just to be able to associate them with like real objects and then learn to use them. This is also a really important thing to learn to use them on the second side. So to be able to actively communicate them. So for example, if I for the first time heard the word no, I know something, then second time, third time, fourth time, and I would be relatively sure what does this mean. I would use it in a conversation, for example, or maybe in some spoken exercise or in some homework to really get the first-hand experience on that, which is also really important in my opinion.
mm. Yeah, absolutely, because it's all very well understanding things, but at some point we do need to be able to kind of use them as well. And it's that classic kind of gap, isn't it, between the productive language and the receptive language, which there tends to be more that we understand and less that we actually use. But that's true in a first language too, I would say.
Yep, yep, more or less. And well, also a feature this has is that you really get a chance to sort of get the country's mindset.
Mm,
So with the sort of language department, you also absorb a part of the nation's mentality. So therefore, like after learning the language and with these extensive listening things and so on, you could even become like proficient in like understanding the country's perspectives for the most part because you by that time you would have heard maybe thousands or maybe even millions of hours of
mm,
playback.
mm,
So you would really understand just the most little nuances you could overhear in an interview.
hmm. And what are your favorite things to listen to now?
Well, all right, so generally spoken, well, let's put it this way. Generally spoken, definitely podcasts. Like totally, I am in love with a lot of podcasts. Well, there are. I believe there are more like educated people in this sort to be able to tell about podcasts more, maybe even Sarah. But yeah, for me, definitely podcasts. And then also like news and even like videos on YouTube. This could be like videos, for example, like reportage. Sorry, like news articles, like spoken news articles, or maybe even like issues or things along those lines. So this is probably my preferred thing to do, but
Mm,
definitely there's not a rule in
mm.
that. Everyone has its preferred thing. So do I, so do you, so does Sarah, so does, I don't know, my brother or anyone.
And I think that's the great thing about people who are learning English. I was thinking this when you were talking earlier, is that you said something about just find your hobby and move it into English or something along those lines. And I think as English learners, it's so easy to do that. So for example, I've got a yoga app and the teacher's Canadian. And I was thinking, oh yeah, well, wouldn't it be nice if there was a Chinese person with a yoga app? And there might be in China, but it's going to be very hard for me to find the Chinese yoga app and download it to my phone and use it over here. So I really feel that people who are learning English have got a massive advantage over anyone who's learning anything else because there is just so much English, particularly online. It's just everywhere.
Yeah, it is. Well, English is the unofficial language of internet, isn't it?
Mm, mm, mm. If you had one or two tips to share with other people about extensive listening, what would you say to them?
Well, first thing first, give it a try. I mean, it isn't time demanding. It is the pretty much the least you can do, especially if you are on a like B1, B2 level. You would understand most of the things relatively easily. So you could try it and then either find it enjoyable a bit because you would be able to just listen to more things to your interest, or not enjoyable at all, or maybe not even like adequate for you. Maybe you are the person who wants something more intensive or something on those lines. So either way, you would get something. You would either get quite a strong method, or you will know what you don't want to do really.
Mm,
And then the second tip for you, probably probably to be consistent, because consistency tends to be pretty much the most important thing in every language learning or any learning whatsoever.
yeah, yeah.
Generally spoken, I believe it is better to study 5 minutes a day than 2 hours once a week.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's those, small steps, small and regular steps. If you've only got 5 minutes to listen to English a day, well, that's totally okay. But do it. Just do it. And over time, that 5 minutes a day, it adds up and it becomes a really significant amount. Daniel, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and ideas about extensive listening. And I hope it gets warmer in the Czech Republic.
Thanks so much for having me here, and see you.